It's all in the name of saving our native species by eradicating millions of feral cats with a federal government plan which may affect your family's pet cat.
Australia has been introducing new laws to regulate cats year after year. In 2023, the government declared a war on cats, introducing new measures to control feral cat population. But this isn't the first time, it's actually the second war on cats, with the first one starting back in 2015. Unlike countries like Turkey or Japan, where city streets are filled with roaming cats, Australia is determined to get rid of them. But why are cats such a big problem here? How did they even get to Australia, and what can we do to help? Let's start with how cats made their way to Australia. When European colonists began exploring America and Australia in the 17th century, they brought cats along as pets. In 1788, when penal colony was established in Sydney, house cats were documented for the first time. From there, cats spread throughout Australia alongside European settlers, claiming more and more land. But weren't these just house cats? Yes, but they roamed freely, and when they chose to live in the wild, they became feral cats. Even back then, people were concerned. In 1912, a zoologist named Sherburne Lisworth documented that Australia's house cats would be a big issue one day, as some of them already reverted to tabby like feral cats. They were becoming larger, with many showing tabby markings and heavy ruff around their necks. So why are these cats such a big problem in Australia?
Cats are native to Asia and Africa, but they are not native to Australia. I think it's the lack of co-evolutionary history, and so the prey are very vulnerable.
This is Dr. Kleindorfer, who's been studying ecology and birds for over a decade.
Australia was a continent in isolation for 35 million years, and so the flora and fauna in Australia is very different, high levels of endemism, and they evolved in the absence of cats. So the introduction, the arrival of cats to Australia poses unique challenges because the flora and fauna are not adapted. They have not co-evolved with cats in Australia.
In North America, although small animals didn't co-evolve with cats, there are lots of animals to prey on cats. Wolves, owls, eagles, and wild dogs, so the population of cats is under control. But in Australia, things are different.
Australia has a very different, what we would call trophic food chain. So the top predators stabilize ecosystems, and there are not too many predators of cats in Australia.
Sherburne also mentioned in his article in 1912, noting that only poisonous snakes and a few eagles pose a threat to cats in Australia. With no predators and plenty of prey, the cat population has exploded. In just 2 centuries, Australia now has 6 million feral cats. On average, each cat can kill more than 700 small animals per year, so feral cats in Australia can kill up to 4 billion animals per year.
So in Australia, desert skink, for example, is very vulnerable to cat predation. The night parrot, numbats, bilbies. So these are mammals that are, active during the evening and spend a lot of time on the ground, would be especially vulnerable to cats.
A 2023 study showed that in Australia, about 1/5 of the animals eaten by cats are considered vulnerable, with some species already extinct. On the other hand, the methods available to control feral cats aren't very effective.
One of the issues when you use poison, for example, to try and eradicate cats is that not all of the cats will take the bait. And because they survive, because they haven't been killed by the bait, they pass on this trait of food neophobia to their offspring. And then it becomes almost impossible to catch them, with novel food baiting in the future because they've been selected. They have an advantage, a survival advantage, to be food neophobic.
Shooting and trapping are expensive and have poor results. Besides feral cats, free-roaming pet cats and stray cats also pose a threat to our environment.
We know from a GPS study, pet cats that are allowed to roam freely, they kill 2 to 3 animals per week on average. But we're talking millions, hundreds of millions of animals that are killed by cats per year.
Stray cat and pet cat are urban cats that live closely among us. As an individual, this is an area where we could do a lot to help the situation, not just for our local animals, but for the welfare of cats as well. As a cat owner, containing our cats is the best thing we can do to protect our cats and the environment.
We advocate for working towards containment of cats to our properties.
This is Carolyn from RSPCA, the largest animal shelter in Australia.
When cats are wandering around stray in urban areas, they are very much at risk, and our rescue team rescues more stray cats than any other animal. And one of the things that cats can be at risk of, if they could catch some of the viruses that cats have. And they can also, of course, get injured by other cats, because cat fights cause terrible injuries, and cat bites can result in really very serious infections.
Full containment also cannot happen in one day. We need to slowly introduce it to let our cats get used to it.
Containing cats to your property is definitely going to mean that that cat has a much greater chance of survival, but that containment needs to be done in a way that the animal's life is still enriched. It has access to an outdoor enclosure, ideally. You can't force a cat to stay indoors just overnight, suddenly make that cat an indoor cat. That would be cruel. It would not be in the animal's welfare. You have to transition to full containment slowly. What we would like to see happen is that for 6 months there is a curfew, overnight curfew, all cats have to be indoors, and after 6 months then you transition to keeping the cat indoors, ideally with access to an outdoor enclosure.
Apart from containing, desexing and microchipping are also required as a pet owner.
So contained cats should be sterilized, desexed, and microchipped, and sometimes they will escape for various reasons. But if they are desexed and they don't pose a risk to producing more offspring when they encounter a feral cat, so that risk is zero. And also when they are refound, then they can be returned to the owner.
Turning around the current situation that we have with cats is going to take some time, but it can happen. Transitioning all cats to being microchipped, desexed, vaccinated and owned by someone, this can happen. It was only a few decades ago that we had stray dogs. So in the same way that we've learnt to manage stray dogs in a humane way, we can also manage stray cats in a humane way.
I think it's important to have conversations so that pet owners are aware of the risks. I love cats, but please let me declare that. I really love cats, big and small, and they're marvelous creatures. But they have not co-evolved in the Australian landscape, and so we really need to make sure that people understand the future of cat control in Australia will very much involve getting the public on board to appreciate the biodiversity of Australia, really being able to celebrate that and to understand that cats did not co-evolve with Australia.
All animals are sentient creatures, and so they deserve to be treated humanely. We need to make sure that whether they are stray, whether they're owned, they are all cared for in a humane way. Too often they're the scapegoat for all of the wildlife loss, and we need to really accept that the main cause of wildlife loss in Australia is habitat loss. And habitat loss, the main cause of that in this country at this point in time is beef production, and that is a proven fact.
As a pet owner myself, I want to respect and protect the land that I live on and give my cats a healthy and happy life. Join me, contain, desex, and microchip your cat. We can make it happen.